What's up? Good morning and War Eagle to the War Report family. It's your guy, Ike Jones. We are here back with another morning drop, talking a little bit more about the quarterback competition at Auburn. Hopefully you guys are locked in and ready to have that conversation this morning. Far from done yet. We're going to hear comments again from Coach Hugh Freeze from this past presser and going to get comments from you all. You know how we do right here, morning drop style. Let's drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
Morning drop. It is April the 12th, a Wednesday. We are back. You got Ike Jones riding solo this morning. Talk a little bit more about the quarterback competition at Auburn. Listen, man, we got so much. We still need to figure out who's the guy. Coach Hugh Freeze promised before the spring started he was not going to really have a guy solidified before the end of spring. 15 practices just wasn't enough for him to figure it out. We've heard some of the comments before. If you guys have seen the post-game presser, these aren't new comments that we're going to pull up and listen to today, but just want to kind of give some context around the conversation. Coach Hugh Freeze talking a little bit about the quarterback competition. So let's go in and listen to that first one. The question was posed to Coach Hugh Freeze about what he felt like his QB still needed to do. And let's listen to those comments.
I feel better than I did 15 practices ago. I still think I really think from this point now until the end of fall camp, there's so much that needs to happen for somebody to solidify being the guy. And I think all have improved. I think all are still inconsistent with some things. We really had every man, we were really wanting to throw that ball around today. And it just, it would have been really ugly and probably a lot of 3 and outs had we tried to do that. And I think Robbie got better, and he's really been fun to coach. And I think he's trying to change some of the things that may have caused at least me concern about him being the quarterback leader, whether it be body language or ball security or your demeanor in general, the way you talk to your teammates. And I don't know that anybody's ever really challenged him like I did this spring with that. And I thought all 3 of them responded to our challenges and just were like, "Coach, just please coach me." And so I think you saw today, he's got the capability of making some plays, and thought he threw a really good seam ball in those conditions. Can't remember if we threw it anymore with him, but, I thought Holden threw some good balls and he missed a couple of reads on some RPOs, I think, and TJ did too. But it's kind of been that way all spring. Some really positives one day and then some inconsistencies the next day, and we still got some time to help him improve, hopefully.
Yeah, so basically Coach Hugh Freeze saying Robbie Ashford's come a long way. A lot of the guys still have a lot of work to do, but he says specifically he doesn't know that anybody is ready to be the guy that they're ready to trot out there on Saturdays in the fall as the quarterback for Auburn University. So I just want to ask the question to you all. If you had to choose today, who would be your QB1? I want to hear and see comments from you guys about who would be QB1 if we had to line up and play UMass today, first game of the season. Or are you saying to yourself, I don't think that guy is on the roster? Definitely want to hear those comments. But while you're here, make sure that you go ahead, share the video so we can get some more people in here talking about the conversation, whether you're watching that live right now or you're watching it on replay. Go ahead and share the video. Make sure you're at the War Report so that we know you did that. Hashtag get your weight up. Like the video right now. Listen, man, you know how I do. I love for you guys to come in here and give me those thumbs up because it makes me feel good about myself. You want me to feel good about me, right? But go ahead and give me those thumbs up, man. Like that video, subscribe to the channel so that we can get all of those notifications when we're going live. Make sure you don't miss a minute of this great Auburn content. We got a lot of good conversations lined up for you guys this summer. I want to make sure that you're in here for it. But anyway, who do you think should be QB1 right now is the question I want to ask you all today. I'm going to answer the question myself in just a minute. But before we get into that, the other question that was posed to Coach Hugh Freeze in regard to quarterback was specifically, he said he didn't know whether or not those three could be the guy, but would he be open to going and getting a quarterback out of the portal? Again, not new comments, but just want to give context to the conversation. Here's Coach Hugh Freeze talking about the potential of getting a quarterback out of the portal.
Yeah, I think the transfer portal opens soon, and we are open to any position that would help us improve our team as long as they fit within the culture, and that includes the quarterback room. I don't, I know people make a big deal out of that, but the bottom line is you're constantly, I think competition is helpful, and those that handle it right, and those that don't, they're probably not going to be the winners for you anyway. And so, we're open. Do I think we can win some games with what we have? Yes, I do. But I don't want to ever be put in a box where I say something and I do the opposite. So I don't know the answer. I don't know if we are. I know that I would be open to it.
In this modern game, what do you need out of a quarterback in the SEC to win the league?
Well, I think you got to have somebody that can make the throws in tight coverage, and you got to have receivers that can get open in them too. And I think we're looking for some of that and consistency in both spots. There's going to be some games you just can't. They're going to stop the run, and you're going to have to make some throws to win the game. And we're not proven in the room that we have that any of those have done that. I'm not saying they can't, and I'm certainly not down on them. I think we can win games with these guys, but should a guy that come available that is a dynamic guy that we think is already a proven commodity at doing that, I think we would have to at least look at that.
So the big thing that I wanted to focus on from those comments is, of course, he's open to it, but it's the statement that he made repeatedly in that last portion about finding a proven guy. And this is the thing that when I see the conversations about the quarterback position that are happening over and over in different spaces within the Auburn community, names being thrown out there, I don't know that I see a quarterback that has been mentioned that fits the criteria for proven, someone who's actually done it. And so that's what makes me feel like the quarterback right now is on the roster. If you're going to go with somebody that's not proven, then why not just ride with the guys that you have on your roster? That's how I feel about it. And if we're being honest, I think the guy has got to be Robbie Ashford right now. Just listening to the comments that Coach Hugh Freeze made from the first clip about the maturity that he feels like Robbie has picked up over this time. Not saying that I feel like Robbie Ashford is the most talented quarterback in that room as far as arm talent is concerned. I still think the answer to that one is Holden Garrett. And I think Holden probably has the best arm talent of any of the quarterbacks in the room. Surprising athleticism for me in Holden because I hadn't seen it before, but he did display a little bit of that. I'm just not into the overreactions, however, about Robbie being able to run during the spring game. We know he could run. That wasn't a question coming in. There was nothing being answered by Robbie Ashford having his legs on display during the A-Day game. I did love the seam route that he was able to hit because I think that that's a throw that he needs to be able to make in games. What I liked the most about that throw is it wasn't an off platform. It wasn't an improvisation. It was a step back, drop back into the pocket, stand up and deliver type of thing. He had the fake and then he just stood up and delivered. You didn't see a lot of that from Robbie Ashford last year. A lot of the deep throws that we saw from Robbie last year were the things that you saw where he was scrambling out of the pocket, making a play happen, the off schedule throws. I liked the fact that we saw something that was on schedule and he threw it to a guy who was open, didn't overthrow him, none of that stuff. The deep ball accuracy, not even a thing that I'm really worried about Robbie Ashford as well. But I did love being able to see him do that in particular. And that is something that we had not seen from Robbie Ashford very much last year. The one deep throw that he had, I think, in the Mercer game was like that. But just not a lot of that from Robbie Ashford. Hopefully we can see more of that going forward. But Coach Freeze was very intentional in saying he feels as if all of the guys still have work to prove that they can be the guy. But again, if you're asking me the question, which we are asking me the question because the camera's pointed at me and it's my show, who is going to be QB1 if we had to suit up and play a football game right now? I think we're going to be riding with Robbie Ashford. I want to know your thoughts on that right there as well. I know some people still feel like we got to go get a portal QB. That's going to be the answer. Not mad at that answer. I just haven't seen anybody yet that's in the portal that would answer that for me, or any of the potentials that could hit the portal that fit the criteria that we want. A person who can match the RPO scheme. And when I say RPO, that doesn't mean that they have to be able to run like Robbie Ashford, just be able to run a system that requires you to make reads, right? TJ's not a runner, but he can make the reads necessary to do this. Coach Free said that he was messing up on some of the reads. But what I'm saying is, you don't have to be a runner to make the proper read. Hand the ball off or throw the ball. Maybe you can sneak and get a couple of yards if necessary, but you don't have to be a dynamic home run threat with your legs to run an RPO scheme. That is a something that people say incorrectly often, and hopefully I have done enough to correct that for people, but I still see them say it all the time. You do not have to be a dynamic runner to be an RPO quarterback. You just need to be able to make the right reads about running, which means handing the ball off to a runner or passing it with the pass tag on the back end. If you can go and get yards with your legs, that is a bonus, not a necessity in this system. But Robbie Ashford does fit the criteria of being able to go get the yards with his legs and improving with his arm. Still think Robbie Ashford leads in the race. I've been saying that from the very beginning. If we were to start right now, it's Robbie's job to lose, and I'm going to be riding with that until I see something different. Anyway, want to hear you guys' comments on that. Before we get to the comments, of course, we got to talk about the sponsor of the War Report's morning drop, and that is Rogue Shop. You guys make sure that you head over to rogueshop.com and use code REPORT. That lets them know that you guys, the War Report, sent you over there, and we very much appreciate you supporting the people who support us. Got things for you from everything from stress to anxiety to sleep aids. All of those things can be accomplished in a natural and healthy way with the Rogue Shop. You guys make sure you head over there, again, using code REPORT. But we're going to get to the comment section and see some of the comments that you all have about the quarterback race. We're going to start this out, of course, with the super chat. We appreciate that from Lisa Daniel coming in saying, I agree with you 100%. Robbie is maturing. Listen, it's hard to not see the maturation of Robbie Ashford and some of the things that he's done. Still a lot of growing up that he has to do in a lot of ways, but you got to give him credit for the things that he is doing right to get into the right position, to put himself in the position to be the quarterback for the future with Auburn. Looking forward to seeing what comes in the future for him. Let's go back up here to the top and look at what Kyle Sweat has to say. I trust this coaching to turn Robbie into a Heisman Trophy contender, and that would result in a team championship. Listen, if Robbie Ashford is in a position to be contending for a Heisman Trophy, we definitely are in contention for a championship. Pending on how this defense rounds out, right? Like if the defense is as bad as they were on A-Day, and I hate to say bad, but it is what it is. If there's not as proficient in stopping the run as they showed a lack of proficiency, in A-Day, then we've got a lot of work to do to be a championship team. Corey Wepper jumps in and says, my personal opinion is the starter is not currently on the roster. Not an unpopular opinion out there floating in the universe of Auburn fandom, but definitely appreciate it for you to jump in here, Corey. Always good to see you in the comment section. Daniel Moultrie says Robbie Ashford, but I definitely think Holden is in the battle, especially if our O-line is solid. Listen, a solidified O-line helps when you have a quarterback that is not as mobile and not as capable of getting himself out of situations with blitzes and things of that nature. When you have pressure coming, you still have the ability with a mobile quarterback to get to those other things. But again, surprised at the sneaky athleticism of Holden Gerner, and definitely looking forward to seeing his maturation as well. This week, we should be hearing some news coming out of a lot of places. We've already seen some people start to hit the transfer portal from different programs across the country. We should probably start to see who is making those decisions on the Auburn roster here coming up very soon. So be looking forward to that. Probably will not be seeing anything in the movement from the quarterback room from Auburn this week, unless meetings that are happening this week are going to lead to guys feeling as if where they stand with the coaching staff doesn't put them in a position to be able to compete for the starting job. Let's run that back down again. Robbie Ashford, very unlikely to transfer. And based upon the comments from Coach Hugh Freeze, don't see any reason why he wouldn't be in solid contention for the starting job. Holden Gerner has the most freedom to transfer, and unless he is not given a chance to compete, will likely stay on into the fall. TJ Finley is the one, in my opinion, that is the underdog in this race, but his decision is going to be based upon two things. He still needs to be able to graduate this summer, so he's not going to enter in this first window unless he's very confident that he's going to be graduating this summer. And it's going to be dependent upon how quickly this Auburn staff moves on to going and getting a portal quarterback, because I do feel like a portal quarterback is coming in. So the question will be for TJ Finley whether or not he wants to stick out another quarterback competition with now 3 other guys in that room he would have to compete with, one of them being a transfer quarterback coming in during the summer/fall session. He's going to have to make that decision as he gets closer to his graduation date. So we will definitely see some things coming out soon. Saying all that to say, I don't anticipate a quarterback from Auburn hitting the portal within the remainder of this week. But hey, listen, I don't know what's going to be happening with those conversations behind closed doors. CM Pat jumps in and says, Robbie freaking Ashford. He is on the Robbie train. Jumps back in and says, the RPO with Robbie just looks nasty, even if Holden has some wheels too. Don't disagree with that. Robbie Ashford, definitely, there's no denying whether or not he can use his legs to be able to make some plays. The question we have to ask ourselves is, can he use his arm? We definitely, as a fan base, are disappointed with not being able to see that on display for A-Day because of the weather conditions. But hopefully we'll be having an opportunity as the media. I know some of you guys won't be able to. Maybe during the summer, we'll have an opportunity to see some of that progression and get in there with whatever they're doing during summer workouts. We'll definitely keep you guys posted as we get access. We'll try to give you guys access to what we're seeing. Hot Dog Water jumps in and says, I think it's going to end up being Robbie. I'm not sure we are going to find anything of interest in this second window. Listen, I've been saying this. It's not that I don't think it's possible to happen. I'm just saying I want people to temper their expectations about the portal hero coming in that's going to save the offense and be this perfect fit for the system. If, again, and I'll say this again, not saying there will not be talented quarterbacks in this portal window that's coming up this summer. I'm saying that they will not be any more proven to be able to do it on the field. What you're banking on is talent being able to show itself on the field in some sort of dynamic way, not something that you've seen in action on the field, unless somehow the young guy from Coastal Carolina gets his whole situation figured out and he can transfer. That's someone who you've at least seen some proficiency to do it on the field consistently and meets the criteria that Coach Free said, which is proven quarterback. Haven't seen a lot of proven quarterbacks out there. Don't know if there are going to be any proven quarterbacks coming in this window. Seahaw says, War Damn Eagle fam, Robbie with the rushing game and throwing 15 for 20. 20 attempts in a game, that's very reminiscent of a Gus Malzahn offense. I don't know that you're going to be able to coax any dynamic wide receivers to your room with that few attempts, but with that proficiency, can't be really upset about that. If he's 15 for 20, not going to be upset at the number of opportunities that the wide receivers will have to be able to make plays. It's just that it just means that we're not going to be spreading the ball around very much. You really want to be able to get more opportunities for wide receivers to operate in that system. Love the fact that Robbie Ashford can run the football. Want to see him be a quarterback a little bit more than a runner and just utilize his legs when he needs to, or in situations where the defense dictates it. I don't want him having to be Houdini out there the entirety of the game. All right, let's see what else we got out here. You guys, thank you so much again for tuning in. PPass says that maybe Caleb Williams is upset that his NIL deals are maxed in LA. Maxed in LA means they're probably maxed everywhere. I don't know that Caleb Williams is going to be able to get more NIL by transferring somewhere else. But he would be the ideal guy for this type of system. Can't deny that. Stephen Riley says it's McCall or we go with Robbie, in my humble opinion. Definitely a popular person out there. Corey Weber is high on Grayson McCall. So there's a lot of people who are high on Grayson McCall. We'll see if he is able to actually, do whatever's necessary to get his grades in order. I don't know what Grayson McCall is doing right now, or whether he's saying to himself, hey, I'm just going to finish out my career here at Coastal and then take my chances in the NFL. We'll see. Valencia Jackson jumps in and says, I don't think TJ will be here after graduation, but we still need a third person. But I still say Robbie is leading. This is the sentiment I have exactly, Valencia. I am not sure that TJ, Here's what I will say, and I'm going to catch flack for saying this because every time I say this, Auburn fans get upset at me. If for some reason Holden Geriner is the person who decides he does not want to be here any longer, I think TJ stays, and I think TJ is confident in his ability to win a quarterback battle. You can be upset at me for saying it if you want to. I didn't say he was going to win it. I said, I think that he will stay and he will be confident in his ability to be able to win a quarterback battle if Holden Geriner decides, hey, this isn't looking like I have a legitimate shot at this, or you're not giving me enough to say, well, you're at number 3 right now in our mind, but here are the things that you need to work on. And he's confident in saying, oh, okay, well, if I need to work on this, this, and this, I can do that. But if they're saying we want a guy who's a little bit more dynamic with their legs, which I'm not saying that Coach Hugh Freeze and staff are going to say that, but if that is the sentiment that he gets, or he feels like, hey, it's this guy's job, but we want you to be here and be a solid backup, I don't know that Holden Geriner sticks that out. I think that he is going to make a decision to go elsewhere. And in that scenario, I do see TJ Finley potentially staying on with Auburn. Let's see here. Any other things? Dustin Pace says, starting today, Robbie would be the starter, but when game 1 comes around, it's going to be a whole lot closer. Holden showed good presence and decision-making on A-Day. Looking forward to getting in and looking at the decision-making stuff, because there are things even without, because listen, with it being an RPO scheme, unless it's a called run, there are options for the quarterback to be able to keep or throw in a lot of those scenarios. So it will be interesting to kind of dig into some of the quarterback reps that were taken on A-Day, because you heard Coach Freeze say himself that there were a couple of reads that were missed opportunities for some of the quarterbacks out there. Robbie did seem the most comfortable because it is more in his wheelhouse, pulling the ball and running in those scenarios. TJ and Holden figured out a little bit later, it's like, hey, we have to get into this game and start, taking our opportunities to run a little bit here because it's open, and that's the better read in this scenario. But it is going to be interesting to look at the decision making in the RPO game, and whether or not we feel like the decisions that were made by the other quarterbacks not named Robbie Ashford were more about trying to get quality run reps in, or they were actually going through the progressions as necessary. But listen, you have to show your best self regardless of the situation. I do think Robbie did a great job of showing his best self. So looking forward to seeing that. Haley agrees that TJ will graduate and then transfer. Definitely, again, in that same camp with you all about he is likely going to be graduating and transferring. So hopefully we have an opportunity to get some resolution about who we are going to have going into the fall and see what happens here. Corey Weber asked, Ike, have I watched any MJ Morris film? I have not watched MJ Morris. He does not play for Auburn. I don't make a habit of watching a ton of film for guys unless they have committed to Auburn. So can't say that I have seen very much of MJ Morris. I have heard his name floating around out there from some people about him being potentially a guy that Auburn could be interested in. Again, you guys know I don't really follow a lot of recruiting or of the transfer portal stuff until it becomes a little bit more solidified with the people who are in our program saying that there's somebody who we're going to be going after, or they make a visit or something like that. Then then maybe I'll look into it a little bit more. But until then, I got a lot of Auburn players to watch film on. So maybe we can get into that stuff sometime in the future. Let's see. French T. Taylor, not a name that I've seen a lot, but thank you so much for the chat. He says, I don't have a problem with TJ staying if Holden leaves. Listen, I'm prepping people for the possibility, because sometimes when you say things that are within the realm of possibility, people start to act as if it's blasphemy to say, and that you have to get, TJ away from the program and all kinds of crazy stuff that I hear. Listen, man, I'm not in that camp, but I understand why people feel the way that they feel. James Barnett says, I don't know why in only 15 practices, Corey, I have to trust that Freeze can develop one of these guys. Just my opinion. This is relative to feeling as if we have to get a transfer QB. 15 practices is not a lot of practices to make a huge leap. And I think that there's a huge opportunity in the summer for some of these guys. And let's remember again, with a guy like Robbie Ashford, he's still dealing with some shoulder injury problems as well. So that has slowed his progress down and his ability to just get more reps in. But I do feel even more confident now after the A-Day game that we have two quality guys, no disrespect to TJ Finley, and Holden Gerner and Robbie Ashford, who can do things with this offense. And I'm super confident in the ability of this coaching staff to be able to call plays that benefit the personnel that we have in. I am not down on this quarterback room or the commitment that we have with our coaches to be able to develop those quarterbacks. And I'm absolutely not down on the wide receiver talent like a lot of people are. I don't feel like we have that dynamic wide receiver one in the room that is just the defense has to tilt in their direction. But I do believe that we have enough talent in a wide receiver by committee to be able to do some damage with this offense, particularly if we have the right guy at quarterback who is either dynamic enough to force them to figure out how to deal with their legs, or good enough in their decision making and precision to make the right type of reads and attempts with their arm. I do think that we have both of those available in this quarterback room right now, and looking forward to seeing the progression of both of those young men. And listen, again, if Holden Gerner decides to leave, looking forward to seeing TJ Finley kind of figure it out. But there's going to be film that we got to watch to make sure that we understand where these guys are right now. One of the things I want to make sure that you guys do is go over to the Rogue Shop, head over to rogueshop.com, use code RAPPORT. Again, please support the people who support the War Rapport. Use code RAPPORT. If you are right now in the chat and you want to become a member and support us in that way, you can absolutely do that. $5.99 per month. Get you to the place to be able to watch that film whenever you want to. And you can gift a membership to somebody who's out there in the community if you currently are a member, and we appreciate that. But we're about to get out of here. That's another Morning Drop. Your guy Ike Jones signing off. We appreciate everybody who continues to support the War Rapport. We will be back at you tonight with the midweek report. Make sure you guys are here, tuned in. Until then, War Eagle, peace.
Drop!